Your journey has been quite inspiring for people who aspire to write.
So one thing about me is I was always very desperate to make things work. So in 2016, I wrote my first book, On the Open Road. All through my life, I had dreamt of a book that I could touch and feel.
Yeah.
So I read about self-publishing and a lot of authors do it in the West. I thought, let me try it in India. And to my surprise, it did well. वो कहते हैं ना कभी-कभी you have to be at the right place at the right time. That is how it happened. And the good thing about me was, since I had started from the scratch, I had nothing to lose.
Welcome to the Booknerds podcast and an amazing guest as usual with us. We have the bestselling Stuti Changle. Welcome Stuti to the podcast. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me over.
Yeah. And the funny or whatever, not so funny thing is that we have spoken before, but we haven't met. So it's wonderful, kind of meeting you because your journey has been quite inspiring for people who aspire to write, first of all. उनको पता ही नहीं होता है कि उनको करना क्या है. सबसे बड़ी बात ये उनको पता ही नहीं होता कि करना क्या है. उसके बाद hiccups आते हैं. You have navigated through all of that, managed to get an amazing book deal with Penguin.
Yes.
But we'll be speaking about kind of, what works, what doesn't work, a little bit of struggle also. Although it's a very word like बहुत often लोग throw around करते हैं, but होता है, in everybody's life. So really want to talk about that. What's happening right now, what's coming up, all of that. So again, thank you so much for being here. Let's dive into, the entrepreneur in you. If there is a word like that. But you have defined this category, kind of in some ways, because so many authors we speak to on a daily basis, they don't understand that one needs to do so many more things. Just not write, of course. That's the toughest part. Coming up with your manuscript, the publishing process, everything around it, marketing, everything is a startup. And why not treat it as one? Build community, so many more things. So enough of my rambling. Tell us, this entrepreneur in you, how do you kind of fueling it? And how did it start? Because some of our viewers and, listeners, and by the way, guys, this will be on Spotify, so you can listen as well. So tell us a bit about that, how this kind of kick started.
All right. So the first of all, the first thing of all is that you just mentioned that we haven't met. But I do feel that I've met you before. And I think that's because I've done so many podcasts with you, like online. And I think that is where I can say that that is being an entrepreneur. Or, that is where I say that I am proudly an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So the thing is, whatever comes your way, just take it up. And as authors, a lot of people feel that we just need to write good books and we're done. That's the dead end. And now I'll be selling and it's going to be a best-selling book and I'll have so many readers and fans and life is going to be on fire. But that's just not true. That is not how things happen.
Hunky-dory.
Yeah.
Very romantic.
Very, very. La vie en rose. But that doesn't happen in real life. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You have to be on your toes. You have to keep doing something all the time so that you're reaching out to readers. And I won't say the word promotion or book promotion. I would just say be there out, talk about the things that you feel about. So if there's a book and there's a subject that it's dealing with, talk about that subject. Everyone loves to have a good talk. And I think that is where a lot of us miss out because we feel that बुक लिख ली है, हो गया है, अभी आगे बढ़ते हैं, अगली बुक लिख लेते हैं, या फिर नहीं बिक रही है, क्यों नहीं बिक रही है, और क्या कर सकते हैं, that kind of a thing. But I think if you decide that I will sell this book because this is my book, and you take up anything and everything, even if it's a 5-minute slot somewhere, you have to keep your ego aside, go there and talk about it.
Yes.
Because until and unless you start talking about something, nobody else is going to talk about it.
हम ही नहीं करेंगे तो मतलब yeah.
So you have to talk about it. So not just writing the book and getting over with it, actually talking about it at as many places as you can, whether it's a physical thing, whether it's an online platform. I don't know.
A blog, anything.
Just
right?
talk about it. Don't step back by saying कि मेरी तो किताब है, मैं तो novel writer हूँ, बस मेरा job हो गया, अभी मेरे को और कुछ नहीं करना है. That is not how it works.
So, like, showing up at all kinds of events or, podcasts or whatever, this podcast, for example,
Right.
you need not be here, but you're here. So,
Yeah.
I really love that about you and this journey. Let's step back a little bit, go to when it all started.
Yeah.
And, it's important because
It is
through this podcast, I really want to delve into that.
Right.
आप लिखना चाह रहे हैं, थोड़ा सा वहां से शुरू करते हैं और फिर बात करते हैं कि क्या हुआ उसके बाद और कैसे people can also learn.
Got it.
जो बहुत ही मतलब teenagers ना especially keep on throwing this question
Got it.
to us and other communities as well कि क्या करें मतलब what do we do? So उसमें
So let's rewind and let's
Yeah.
go back to 2016.
okay.
This is the year when I decided that I really want to write books.
Hmm.
So until here, I wanted to do it, but because this is not a formal career option or a choice, and you come from a middle class family, so everyone tells you there are so many good options, so many fat paychecks that you can get. Why you want to write a book? Like of all the things, and you're very passionate about it. You feel it when you sit down with a pen and paper. Ideas just flow, but you don't know what next or where next from here. And the biggest fear is fear of the unknown.
Yes.
आगे होगा क्या और क्योंकि कुछ नहीं होगा let's drop it. ये करते ही नहीं है. That is what I was doing until 2016. But in 2016 I decided, okay, let me get into this. Let me see ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या होगा. Book नहीं चलेगी, but let me write my first book.
Okay.
So in 2016 I wrote my first book On the Open Road.
Yeah.
And after I was done with the book, I sort of Googled like everybody does. Who are the publishers? How do you write to them?
Yeah.
And I went through the formal route that is
Okay.
written on Google.
Okay.
And nobody wrote back to me.
Okay.
And that is what happens to most of the first time writers in India. Because the publishers, they get so many requests that they don't really have time to like look into every request.
Yeah.
And
Not
probably
before.
not even the time to send a reply to everyone.
True.
So my problem was not that nobody wrote back. I mean, the problem really was that no bhi nahi bola. Like if you say no, there's a closure to the story.
Yeah.
But there was no closure. So I said, okay, let me self-publish. So I read about self-publishing and a lot of authors do it in the West. I thought, let me try it in India. It might work, it might not work. But since यहाँ तक आ गए हैं और पीछे जाने का कोई सवाल ही नहीं है, let's just go ahead and do this. So that is where I decided that I'll self-publish and I launched my book via Kindle.
Okay.
Kindle publishing. So it was just an ebook.
Okay.
It was not a paperback. While all through my life I had dreamt of a book that I could touch and feel.
Yes.
This is how I had decided to launch, and I was not very comfortable with it. But I said, okay, it's going to be a start. You have to start somewhere. If you don't start, if you keep sitting, somebody someday might reply. Then someday ही चलता रहेगा. वो कभी होगा नहीं, कभी formalize नहीं होगा. तो आगे बढ़ते हैं. And that is where I launched my first book. On the Open Road on Kindle. It was a competition, and to my surprise, it did well. Like I had not imagined, but it did decently well. So that is where I got the confidence to like go ahead and self-publish it. So you won't believe my house where I lived, and it was a rented apartment at that time.
Okay.
Actually became a warehouse.
Okay.
Because I was selling from my home. I was placing order with the printer. I was packing these books, writing notes for each one of readers, because that's what I said. That what was my promise, that if you order my book, I'm going to write a personalized message for you.
Wow.
And I packed each and every book with my hand, and I used to dispatch it with the Amazon guy every day. And I started with Amazon, then went to Flipkart, so on and so forth. But Amazon is where I started.
Okay.
Because that was the easiest thing to do. For
I
me,
think KDP is kind of, super
Right.
convenient as well.
Super convenient.
Fast
with the
way.
ebook. With the ebook, it's super convenient, but with paperback, KDP doesn't really work in India. Nobody knows that. Like people feel paperback bhi launch hota hai, but nahi. That happens in the West, but that doesn't happen in India. I said, I will print it. I will get it done.
Okay.
I will make my house, my warehouse. I will dispatch it via Amazon to each and every customer, and I'll write a note for them.
So this is Delhi? You're doing
This is
in
Delhi.
Delhi? Okay.
Yes, this is Delhi. And I'm doing this now. We are like a little bit ahead in the curve because I wrote a book for an year, then I did not hear back for an year. So this happened, come to 2020. I spent a lot of time in between trying and figuring things out.
Yep.
And then I did this in 2020. And lockdown happened.
Okay.
Within 1 month of getting all the things in place, the lockdown happened. And now again I am where I was in the beginning. Aage hoga kya? Aage kaise jayenge? But then somehow when the lockdown was lifted for the first time, the book did pretty well. And this is the second book, You Only Live Once.
Yeah.
And the book did so well that it went out of stock.
Oh.
Right.
Wonderful.
And then somebody told me, see, this is the real place in life where you can say you arrived.
Yes.
Because, to get all these books stocked out on your own is a big thing. It really doesn't happen. And
this is when I think by this time the deal has happened, obviously, with Penguin, and we'll speak about it.
No, the deal hasn't happened.
Oh, okay.
This is me doing it.
This is you doing it, even for the second one?
Yeah,
oh,
even for the second one I'm doing it. I still don't have any big publisher.
I didn't know this. I thought that this is like the first one. After that, it is like, all sorted.
No, so the first one did decently well is what I said. Then I did not give up. I wrote the second one, went through the same route of self-publishing with the second book. Now we are in 2020. The lockdown has happened. 1 year, none of the books sell. Then suddenly the book starts selling because people started reading more books, I assume. And my category, which is fiction, also opened up. So all the books were selling and I also benefited in that journey. So वो कहते हैं ना कभी-कभी you have to be at the right place at the right time. That is how it happened. And after so many years of starting the writing
But even then,
journey,
Stuti, all books were not selling.
Not all books were selling.
Just my addition to this point.
I do
because
agree.
you have to have content in place.
So YOLO became that, book that sold like anything and
guys, YOLO matlab
you only live once.
Everybody will not be Gen Z. There are some people like me who don't understand YOLO. So I am like quite old. So you have to.
In fact, from there, I wanted to add that when I was naming this book, I did not wanted to name it You Only Live Once because I felt it's a very, very cliched thing and it's a very cliched title. But with On the Open Road, I had built a little bit of my community of readers and I did a little survey from the back end asking them for 4 titles and I was definitely naming some other title. When the poll results came out, 80% people voted that your book should be called You Only Live Once after they read the book synopsis.
Goodness. We have to go to SC Family now because they have contributed to this.
Yes.
Incredible. Because it's like, crowdfunding. How does it work? But this is more important.
Right.
Because you are making a decision for the author.
Right.
Tell us about the SC Family. And guys, it's SC Family, of course, is your entire community everywhere.
Right.
Be it whatever, all platforms. So how did you start taking it seriously? Because a lot of authors, they don't give a damn. Okay, तो उनको मतलब ही नहीं होता कि कुछ है, community नहीं है. When the book comes out, I have written a book. Please खरीद लीजिए.
Please खरीद लीजिए.
ऐसा तो नहीं होता है.
नहीं होता है. And I think that's the push approach where you say that I have this, please buy this. And if you get a lot nosy on social media that get this. I mean, people are also going to unfollow you because they're not here just to buy your products. They're here to get something from you as well. And I think like every other relationship, the relationship on social media is also 2 ways. Yeah. I give you something, I get something back in return. It can't be like I keep on asking you, please buy my book. Today is a sale, please buy. Today is a 50%, please buy. Today is this. And this kind of content really doesn't perform because see, nobody is going to Instagram to buy your book.
Right.
They are going there for maybe passing their time, getting entertained, so on and so forth, but not really to buy your book. So for me, I understood this quite early on, and I have done that. I have been there doing 50% discounts and seeing that nobody's coming. I have learned.
Yeah.
And I'll be saying the true things here because I can say कि मैंने यहाँ से start किया था but नहीं यहाँ से नहीं किया था ये गलती की समझ में आया this is not how social media works. I consulted a lot of people who were doing good and they told me that go ahead in this manner.
Be authentic. Basically.
Be authentic and not just always ask, give something. Is there something you're giving out to people? I said, no, I'm not really. So when I say give back, not really doing giveaways. Are you giving some good content? Is there something for people to consume also in return? So that is where I realized how important building a community is. And the good thing about me was, since I had started from the scratch, I had nothing to lose. There was no ego, there was nothing. Like आप जमीन पे ही हो, इससे नीचे तो आप क्या ही चले जाओगे, तो आप कुछ नया try करके देख लो. Is what my approach was. So when somebody told me कि try this, I said let's try it out. That's a great approach
when you don't have anything.
Right.
Then you are like, what the heck? So you are I would call you a typical outsider into the publishing space, because you had
outsider.
Because you didn't have any connect, you had no clue, right?
I had no clue how things work.
Just came in and
I just want to make things work. So one thing about me is I was always very desperate to make things work. I was like, I will persevere. This might take 5 years. लेकिन बेचना है, लोगों तक पहुंचना है, लोगों को अपनी story read करानी है. उसके बाद if people say कि she is not worthy of a writer, or if they don't like it, then I am happy to quit and go back to my corporate life, because I also worked after my MBA. For a year I worked before I started into this journey. And I was always okay with going back. But I wanted a closure. I told you, मुझे जो closure नहीं मिला था, I was still seeking that no.
I remember that side of you. No. I actually remember that side of you. I think you were doing some events in Bangalore. An event in Bangalore.
I think so, in 2018 or something.
I think so. So you were kind of maybe in the middle, or I don't know what was happening, but that was there. My follow-up to that is because there are so many comments on various communities about how to kind of do this, how to crack it. You cracked a deal with the biggest publishing house in the country and across the globe. I mean, they are the biggest. Penguin. How did that happen? Of course, we have talked about this briefly, but this process, so the books were selling so much that they came to you. Is it that how it happened, or okay?
Yes,
so tell us true. A bit about this.
That is true. So we are in 2020 and now the lockdown is lifted. The book is doing phenomenally well, but still they didn't write to me.
Okay.
We are sitting in May, June, and then I was like, what next? Like, okay, let it sell. Abhi bik rahi hai, tension kyun lene ka hai? Let's just go ahead in that flow. So we are going in that flow, and now we are in December 2020. The year is about to close, and I'm planning what I'm going to do next year. Is there something new that I can do? Kya main ek nayi kitab likhu? What do I do? Because see, I'll tell you, when you're a creative person, there comes a time when you are completely blocked from all the ways, and you start questioning your choices.
Right.
That did I do this right? I mean, is it worth it? मुझे ये रास्ता लेना भी चाहिए था या नहीं, क्या जाकर फिर नौकरी कर लूं अभी नेक्स्ट ईयर. तो ये थॉट मुझे बैक एंड फॉर 2020 तक भी आता था. I'll be very honest that things are not working out.
I mean,
let me go back and like start. Maybe this is not for me. I am not that person who's going to hit the jackpot any day. So I am sitting here and I'm scrolling internet just like that, and I just happen to check my LinkedIn, and I have a request from one of the leading publishers in India.
Okay.
And they are willing to do a deal with me.
Okay.
And I'm reading it 3 times because I don't believe this can happen to me. Because ये तो कहानियों में होता है ना, ये तो मूवीज में होता है, और आप तो 4 साल से वैसे भी लगे हुए थे, कुछ हो नहीं रहा था. So this cannot happen.
हमारे पास तो कोई आएगा ही नहीं.
Correct. So it's like one of those iPhone scam वाला messages that you won a $500, $50,000, or I cannot win it.
Yes.
And I pass by it. I literally say hurt in Hindi and I pass by it. Then I think maybe this is true. Maybe. I mean, then I went to this person's profile, and they happen to be from that legit company that they're claiming to be, and everything seems very legitimate. Then I speak with my husband, and I tell him, this is something which has happened. Can this happen? He's like, why are you so underconfident about this happening? You've been working hard for 4 years. The second book is doing well. Why cannot this happen? And then I happened to tell him to cross-check this.
Okay.
And he cross-checks and he's like, yeah, I think you should write back. And I write back to them. Then they are interested.
Okay.
At the same time, I meet a very interesting person who's now my agent.
Okay.
And he tells me that, oh wow, you already have a deal. So he's like, but there's another publishing house that's interested. And because he's in talks with them.
Okay.
And I happened to tell him about getting this deal. And then he's like, now you choose. So actually, it became a situation which was so tough for me, from not having a single person write a no to me. वहाँ मेरा hurt हुआ था थोड़ा सा कि मुझे no तो लिख देते. To actually like 2 of India's leading publishers asking me that why don't you sign up with us, and these books can be with us. And then obviously
take us through the process, because without naming, obviously नहीं मतलब नाम तो हमें पता ही है कि कौन final हुआ, but what was the reason? Like there must be one thing, or maybe you consulted someone कि क्या होना चाहिए. What was the 1 or 2 things that you thought कि नहीं ये सही है?
See, both the deals were good enough in
Okay.
terms of the advances and everything that was being promised. I think for me, the defining factor became the brand name of Penguin
Okay.
Random House and the fact that they are global.
Yeah.
And when you sign up, you want to be with someone who's been there for a while and who's done amazing things and that you know is going to stick around.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, pedigree. I mean,
correct. And obviously, every industry is volatile in certain ways. Like there
Yeah.
are certain external factors to the industry that affect its functioning. So when you come with that kind of a branding and backup, the chances of something going wrong with you
Yeah.
are very, very less. And I think I was very wise in terms of choosing them because yeah, it's paid well to me in the
like
sense.
Westland के साथ हो ही गया
things-
ना. I mean, it happened with Westland.
Yes,
It
yes.
shut down for reasons which were beyond their control.
Right.
It happened. I mean, they were churning out great content, but it happens. So great decision.
And it can happen with any other publisher
Yes,
as well.
it can happen with
But
anybody.
for me, it was more like, okay, you
Yeah.
know, Penguin's been there, they've done
Yeah.
that. And I've loved them. Like, I think since the beginning, when you are a young kid and you're introduced to books, it's not possible that you've not touched a Penguin book.
Obviously.
Everybody's
Sometimes
touched
you don't
Penguin.
know.
So, yes.
You don't, you know, some people, most people, I've noticed this, that we know that who are the publishers.
Yes.
Most people don't even know.
Right.
Like publishers, they don't notice. Like, okay, but the Penguin, you have kind of, you have spoken about it earlier.
Yes.
Right? You wanted that penguin there.
I just wanted that. Let's just.
It's so super cute.
Let's just come on point. I was in love with Penguin and I just wanted that penguin there.
Simple.
Yeah.
Awesome. You know, let's talk about YOLO. Because I read it. It was launched in 21.
No, in 2020, the self-published
20,
version,
हाँ,
and
self-published
obviously the
नहीं,
deal
मतलब
happened in December,
जो मैंने पढ़ी
January
वो
through
शायद
January,
बाद में पढ़ी
and
थी.
then it released in 2021
Okay.
with Penguin.
So with YOLO, it was a very coming of age story, very relatable in
Right.
some ways because all young people will kind of, associate with it. And it was, if I'm not wrong, and I'm not, it was based in Goa
Yes.
mostly.
Yes.
And we spoke about it at length as well.
Yes.
But the Hindi version is also coming out now. Abhi aa gaya hai.
It's there.
It's there now.
Yeah.
है ना? So that is with Prabhat.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about this because is it any different? What was the translation like? Were you on board all the time? Were you involved in the process? Tell us more about that.
Okay. I was involved in the process all
Okay.
through. It's just like how you publish your English book with a particular publishing house. So I think the flow is pretty much same. Here the only difference is that you're not going back and forth with the editing rounds.
Okay.
You have your script ready, all you have to do is translate.
Okay.
And when translations happen, they have their team where they have the person in charge for getting that translation done for you. So I got the translated book. I just had to approve of it. Like I just
Okay.
had to go through it once,
Okay.
see everything's fine. There's some nuances, some changes that I feel should be made to the text before it goes out. And then it was launched. So I think it was very easy peasy in that sense.
Okay.
Not really something which is very burdening
Yeah.
for the author. And I think I come from a place where I've literally sat on floor, packaged books, carried heavy 20, 30 kilo boxes and given to the, logistics guy.
Yes.
So for me, it's a privilege.
On a platter.
On a platter. It was for me on a platter, everything. So I would say nothing easier.
But you deserve it. So I
At
mean, the book deserves it.
The book deserves
Yes.
it. Yeah.
And tell us more about YOLO because now you are in a situation where you must have gotten a lot of feedback about the book. Because
Yes.
when we spoke last, I think so it was like the launch time or something like that.
Yes.
Then you don't have a keen sense of perhaps कि चल क्या रहा है मतलब होगा क्या असलियत में क्या है. Basically we are promoting the book,
Right.
right? Now again, after maybe 1.5, 2 years, we can kind of revisit that. Like,
Yes.
what is it like? The feedback क्या आ रहा है? What was it like? Were there any negative ones? What does your community want you to improve? ऐसा भी
Okay.
कुछ है क्या? तो वो थोड़ा सा.
Okay. So I think time की बात करें तो yes, it's been a long time and at that time we were just launching it. Now I'm so happy and proud of myself to say that the book is a national bestseller.
Wow.
And it's doing so well.
going to clap.
Yeah, thank you. It's there on Audible. There's a translation out in Hindi. And I think all of this has been possible because not just with YOLO. Since my first book, I've been very, very particular about taking the right kind of review seriously.
Okay.
So when I say write kind of reviews, there's two kind of criticism. One is that comes your way and says you things that you might not deserve to listen to, or that just doesn't make sense. So for example, I just say I don't like this, I don't like that. So I mean,
मुझे आप ही पसंद नहीं है
मुझे आप ही पसंद नहीं हो, आप ऐसे
Okay.
क्यों बोलते हो, आप ऐसे क्यों हंसते हो, you know. So people have problem with all sorts of things.
It
once
could
you
be
are in a-
ideology as well. You know,
Anything,
because you
everything.
share personal stuff as well. It could
Right,
be anything.
right. They'll be like, क्या लिखते हो आप, मजा नहीं आता,
हाँ.
ठीक है, you go and follow me, right? But then there is also constructive criticism that is about your book, where
Okay.
people come and tell you that, you know, this particular segment is not interesting, or when you were stretching towards the end, something was lagging over there, you know, the characters could have been better, the closure could have been better, or for that matter, people might say you did not give a closure at all. You should have given a closure in the book. So there are a lot of things that come your way. I think those kind of critiques, comments, reviews, I think they should be taken seriously because everybody is learning every day. Like, I don't write perfect books. I am evolving every day. If you read my third book, it has to be better than the second one. If I go to my fourth one, it has to be better.
Sorry. It was better just my personal opinion, but it was better because evolution.
It's evolution, right? And it has to change. Like, me as an author is going to evolve with my age, and my experiences are going to evolve. So my content should evolve. If that is not happening, that people might also lose that connection with you, because people are also growing. Your community is also growing in age. Like, when you were 23 and they were 15 and following you, now you're 26. Now they are also 18. They have a better perspective.
People don't address this actually, because
it is very important.
It's important that I never thought about it that way. कि ये लोग भी आपके साथ मतलब evolve हो रहे हैं और पढ़ रहे हैं आपको, और they are enjoying this journey. It's a beautiful feeling actually, you know. Tell me more deeper feedbacks, like, or you know, just random messages as well about Goa or something like that, because I'm talking about that book, and then of course we'll talk about the latest one also.
Okay. Yeah, so when we talk about Goa, it has been so fantastic because I just feel everything just connects and, you know, it ties all the ends. Why I say that is because I love Goa. I mean, this is one place that I've been to for like more than 8 times. And every year I promise myself to come back, because every time I go there, I come back with a different experience. And of all the places in Goa, I have fallen in love with the beauty of South Goa. I just love it there. And most of my book is kind of based on one of the shores in South Goa. And the best part is that some of the reviews or feedbacks I get is actually people taking a picture of themselves at that place along with the book and saying that this book made me travel here.
It's brilliant.
And it's brilliant. I think of all the kind of reviews that I would count good, this is best. This is the best kind of review that you're getting, because you have inspired someone not only in words but in action. And if that is
happening,
you are a
traveler also. So
right, I'm a traveler. And what better than that? Like, what better can you expect your book doing? So, I mean, obviously there is criticism, and I take it seriously. I deal with it. See, nothing can be perfect, and there's always a room for improvement, is what I feel. अगर आपको ये लगने लग गया ना कि मैंने best लिख दिया, इससे आगे कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता, then stop writing books, because you have to bring out something different, something new with every other book. It just cannot be dead end or a full stop. It has to evolve. Like, people are evolving, you are evolving.
Totally.
The content is evolving, the book has to evolve. That is how it is. The world is evolving every day.
And you know, I have read all your books, so I also see that trajectory, the arc, and would love to know in your head, what is the writing arc that you feel that should be for you? Maybe extrapolating. I'm using science here, but you know, how do you see yourself kind of evolving as well? Because, and in the future also, you know, because the third book was definitely better than the previous two, and
is it because you're from Dehradun, Mussoorie?
Oh yes, I'm biased.
So because you're saying this so many times, like, what could be?
I told you as well that, you know, it is a bias more than anything else. YOLO to fans मुझे पता है बहुत है, but I feel it's a biased opinion. तो वो जो arc है, how do you kind of look at it objectively? You know, because it is tough to kind of do this to yourself. Maybe an editor or something, they can tell you, like, but you know, yourself also, self sort of 360-degree feedback, you can call it. In corporate terms, they use a lot of fancy terms, but how do you do that?
Okay. I kind of felt lost after writing my second book because I did not have a clear path about what I'm going to write next, who my characters are going to be time and again. And with the first book, it was a story very close to my heart because a lot of experiences I wrote were my own experiences. Again, with the second book, I exhausted some of my own experiences and they become a part of the entire book.
Yeah.
Now, with the third one, you're questioning yourself, what else can you bring about? Right? And I think every author has a very different approach of going towards it or approaching it, I would say. And for me, it has been a slight shift, or I would say it's slightly different. So I don't go by the plot lines, and I don't go by that. I just go by my hunch. I'll be very, very honest here.
Okay.
And I ask myself, who am I? As a writer, what am I trying to do? What is my purpose?
Yeah.
So the answer to it, which I found from myself, is that I'm someone who's out there sharing life-changing stories, and I'm helping people by doing that because these stories are having an impact on them.
Okay.
So when I thought of writing my third book, the only question I have to ask myself is that, is my story going to have that life-changing impact?
If it's not doing it, then
And if
it
it's not
won't work. Right?
doing it, then
For
this
you
is
at
not
least.
my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not I want to do.
It just might go and sell, become a bestseller.
But no.
it is not working for you.
Yes.
First of all.
Because I think in life, it's more important to know what you don't want to do. Then you will be very, very clear and focused towards what you really want to do. And this is what I have told myself. And this is what my motto, purpose, goal is going to be going forward, writing books. So this is how it was very easy for me to write the third book. And again, I shared my own experiences. So that book talks about lockdown. It talks about how an entire world stopped and how it again came back to life because things really never stop.
बड़ा interesting start है book का. Although I don't spoilers होंगे पता नहीं क्या होगा, but बड़ा interesting start है. You are in the protagonist is in Missouri.
Yes.
She's kind of figuring out what's happening
and dealing with her past.
Because
she thought she'll never go back to her hometown.
Yes.
Because there is a past that she needs to figure out or deal with.
Yes.
But now she's forced to do that.
The only gripe with me, sorry to cut you off, but was that these writers in Missouri didn't show up in the book. Okay, although they would have been a distraction to all the characters, but I was really hoping. I was like, please do this. Just like you bring in brands sometimes.
Right, you do those very quirky, nice brand placements.
Yes, you do that, but just a thought.
I did not do that, because I did not know the legalities of it. I did not know the legalities of it, how it works. I mean, can I mention someone who's already popular and famous? I don't know.
You never
and
know.
I don't have a legal team. I just have a friend who's a lawyer and, they help me with stuff. So I don't know if it is doable. And that's the reason anything that is a little controversial and I don't know if it's going to work or not, I keep it off. So I could have, it's a good idea, but one of the reasons why I did not do is this.
I think one has to take permission.
And I think you have to. I think you can't mention someone just.
Because I read a comic book where the author and he has taken permission from Ruskin Bond, and Ruskin Bond shows up in the comic book.
Wow.
So
had I known this is doable and you can do that, who would not want God himself to be?
You can use it anytime.
In the book.
Yeah, that book is called Magic in Missouri. So I'm talking about Missouri because we are going towards that. We are the Booknerds podcast. We are based in Dehradun.
Yes.
In the vicinity. Tell us about this kind of landscape that you created. Is there an acronym for the book, first of all? I don't know. मैंने तो figure out नहीं किया.
Not really, because this one is a little tough. It's not like YOLO. So we always call it where the sun never sets. Like in the Penguin team and with my editor and with my agent, and whenever we've spoken with the readers, we've always spoken at length about the title.
Great book covers, by the way. And people like, I'm also part of the SC family. So
I know.
I really appreciate when, and I was like, okay, about Missouri, okay, I'm in this.
I want to do it.
Yeah, I want to do it. And tell us a bit about this one, because the second time around, this editorial team, everybody's there. But the expectations, kind of change as well over time.
They do.
The contract to sign हो गया, सब हो गया.
I know.
क्योंकि अब भाई आपने बेस्ट सेलर कर दिया, सब कुछ हो गया, एंड देन स्तुति अब तो you have to be magic.
Yes.
You know, it has to be magical and everything, you know, lakh copies, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 4 lakh copies, you know, that. So is that kind of pressure, unnecessary pressure? Do they do it or do they don't? What happens?
No, they're very sweet. I'll be
Okay.
very honest. Like neither my editor nor the team has been very pressy about, you know, this thing that it has to be a certain way. And I would just say they're very sweet and very nice. And I'm
Okay.
lucky to have them.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the same time, when it comes to the improvement in terms of language and anything else, again, if you have a publisher, they're always there. So with me, the first 2 books were self-published.
Okay.
So they came as it is. There was no interference whatsoever done with the scripts because the books are already doing good. Why would you want to change a script that's performing well? With the third one, it was actually the first book where I got to sit my editor and do all the back and forth.
Yeah.
And
The
yes,
making was
there was the making. And yes, there were points where they wanted to point out and say, okay, this is getting a little lengthier. Why don't you cut it short? I mean, this is where the characters can have a little more depth and all the technical stuff.
Working with these editors, what was your learning? Because, you know, this was your first experience now.
Right.
You know, and sometimes, I mean, you have been on your own.
Right.
कोई है ही नहीं मतलब. So is it tough to kind of, you know, listen to people and, you know, understand where they are coming from, although they are sweet.
Yes.
But they put it in a sweet box, but they are trying to communicate something. For example, did you notice that you have evolved as in that duration as well? कि नहीं यार ये तो ये सही कह रहा है, मतलब ये ऐसे ही होना चाहिए, and I need to kind of step back and adopt this. तो ये कुछ particular हुआ ऐसा कहीं पे?
I think authors need to draw a line.
Okay.
And they need to understand that while improvement is going to improve your script and it's coming from there, and so obviously there's a reason why this person is coming up with so and so suggestion. But where I say draw the line, I mean that also don't get so much in the flow of that discussion that you forget what you stand for. Because sometimes your authentic voice as an author is something that is making you sell copies.
Yeah.
And if I polish out everything, I might lose the connect that I have with my readers because there's a certain way I write that connects with my readers. So you have to draw a line where you tell yourself, okay, this is something which is impacting my authenticity. So I'm not going to do that.
If it is too sanitized, maybe it will
it's
come
too
across.
beautified and too this, and it actually you need to understand who your readers are.
ये भी
There's
सही
a
बात.
beat, there's a vibe
There's a fit.
in everything. There's a fit, there's a right fitment. You've chosen the right one. There's a right fitment. If I'm going to change everything and beautify it to please one person, might lose my connect with so many other readers, and I think that is a bigger thing to lose out on.
Yeah.
So I think editors are very, very good in that sense. Like you can voice this out.
Okay.
You can voice this out that, you know, I feel यहाँ पे मेरी authenticity जा रही है. I don't want to. I feel what I've written is fine. So you need to negotiate also. You can't always be like, let's change it. What you are saying is better.
Yeah.
They are saying for your good. They want you to sell more books.
Yeah.
So they obviously are coming with a very good intent. But sometimes with very good intent, your own voice might get lost, and that should not happen with any author. I think every author has a unique voice. That is what sets one text or one author different from others. There's 5 different ways of saying I love you.
Yes.
Right? And Penguin did this amazing post yesterday in which they mentioned I love you said in 5 different ways by 5 different authors.
I also read that, yeah.
Right? And it was so good. Like one of the books that they mentioned was Where the Sun Never Sets. And all the 5 ways said I love you, but in a different way. Right?
Yeah.
And that is what authenticity is. That is what original voice is.
Yes.
So never ever let that go. I mean, that is who you are for your readers.
Finding your voice. That's very important. Never let it go.
Yes.
A great learning. Also, you know, coming back to the entrepreneur in you, because we started with that. But, you know, are you planning to kind of expand this? Because there is, I mean, from the West, I would say a Colleen Hoover who has, you know, she keeps on expanding. I mean, she's again a prolific writer like you.
Yes.
And she's also expanding on what the universe.
Right.
You know, the SC universe.
Yes.
If I can call it. Sounds cool. But
SC metaverse.
So is there SC metaverse? Is there a plan like that? Do you think like that sometimes? Like, how do I kind of, you know, expand this all?
I do think about it, and I think every author should think about it, and not in the beginning, because you're still having your stronghold in one particular area. So you're still writing books, and you want them to reach out to people.
So, Stuti, you have been doing this for a while and kind of, checked most of the boxes, right? And, the entrepreneur in you, we go back to what we started with. Uh, there must be a thought to kind of expand the universe and, do much more, not only in terms of writing, but overall. So tell us about that. Do you think like that? Do you have that bent of kind of leveling up every time? So tell us more.
Got it. I think it's very important, and every author should do it. But I think timing is also very important in this particular decision that you take. At least for me, it has been very pivotal, because when I was writing my books in the beginning and I'd self-published it, I was still figuring out how to sell these books, how to reach out to people, how do I get more readers. So it was a different kind of a question I was addressing. At that time, if I start doing too many things, like I also start churning out content on LinkedIn, Instagram, I also start to maybe do a podcast, so on and so forth, then I think that's a problem, because you have not still figured out your basic. But
Just
now
like
that
business, like any,
right, just like business. So now that I'm 3 books old, and I know that I have readers who would love to hear more from me, who would love to consume different sorts of content from me, and I know that these books are stable at I can now say that they are stable. So I can go on from here and figure out something. So like I'd mentioned that I just had a baby 4 months back.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. And so that has kept me a little bit on my toes in terms of handling a newborn. It's been a hell of a ride, like an amazing journey, but it definitely takes a lot from you. So I have not done a lot in 2022. But in 2023, I do have plans. And I think as a fiction writer, I also want to try out non-fiction a little bit, whether it's in the audio category, a video category. I want to do more, and I'm looking at it, and I am going to do it. I'm going to come up with something as well. So
that much I have figured out that you will do it, because great that you mentioned that you are venturing into other categories as well. And I think there's a right time to do everything. Super excited for that, and thank you for being on the Booknerds podcast. You are a great addition to the lineup, because you have done all of this yourself, of course with a little help from
here and there,
like
Jugaad,
the famous song. A little help from my friends, but that's always important. But it has been kind of your drive that has kind of put yourself out there. It's not easy to kind of do that alone. वो उठाना और सब कुछ वो करना आसान नहीं होता. So thank you so much. We look forward to your next ventures. I call them ventures because they are books, whatever you're doing. Best of luck with that, and looking forward to having you again on the podcast. And thank you so much.
आई थिंक इतना डिफिकल्ट भी नहीं होता, क्योंकि यूं तो हम जिम में जाके 10-10 किलो उठाते हैं ना, एंड वी आर वेरी प्राउड ऑफ इट. सो व्हाई नॉट इफ इट्स फॉर योर ओन पैशन, लाइक यू कैन डू इट. दैट्स योर स्ट्रेंथ ट्रेनिंग.
आई थिंक सो. ओह, अमेजिंग लाइन. So whoever is listening to or watching this podcast, great learning, and do pay heed to it. Try to kind of incorporate it in your life. That's what I suppose the purpose of the podcast was as well. And looking forward to, and guys, you can buy the books on Amazon. It's a no-brainer, and find them all at all independent bookstores everywhere.
Yes, you can find it everywhere. And thank you, Rohan. Thank you, Booknerds, and thank you, Kunzum Books. Amazing venue for this amazing evening that I've had. And looking forward to many more with you and the viewers.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you, Stuti, for doing this and featuring on the Booknerds podcast season 1, and a little something from us. Maybe you can find a space for this. And thank you so much.
Wow, this is so pretty. Thank you so much.
And we have something else also, all the way from Doon, our very own speciality. Elora's, the Ras. And Stuti is like too excited for this.
Thank you so much. I have shot for this only.
Thank you so much for.
I want to have it with tea.
Cool. Give us feedback.
Yeah,
वैसे तो
sure.
बहुत awesome
Thank you. And amazing packaging. Like I see Dehradun.
Yes.
Very pretty. I'm
It's
gonna
not
cut
a-
out and keep
It's
it.
not a sponsored thing. But they are
No,
awesome
but this
people.
is very pretty.
Yeah.
I'll
Great.
cut out this.
Great.